Each day through my window, I watch her as she passes by. I say to myself, you're such a lucky guy. To have a girl like her is truly a dream come true. Out of all the fellas in the world, she belongs to you. But it was just my imagination, running away with me. It was just my imagination, running away with me. Okay, that's enough of that song. Hi guys, welcome to Bella's Bargains. Thanks, Ferdinand. You like singing. Oh, you practice when I'm not here? Interesting. Okay, we'll keep practicing. All right, guys, so today is, did I say this is Amy? Hi, this is Amy. Welcome to Bella's Bargains. Today's a challenge day. But before I get into that, I want, in case you don't know, I'm doing something new now. So my opening song, the starting of the video song, somewhere in my voiceover, I give you a little history lesson on that song. It's super interesting. I'm learning a whole bunch, and I'm really liking it. So make sure that if you want to know anything about just my imagination, listen for the voiceovers. Oh, but while we're at it, let's talk about our imagination. So today's challenge is just my imagination. I gotta pull up the picture here. Come on, where'd you go? Bam, bam, bam. All right, this is Just Our Imagination is named this challenge. There, it's that one. Guess what? I'm gonna have a link in my description box to the host and the playlist. But this is brought to us every month by Brenda from Rustic and Lace and Kathy from Kathy Joe's DIYs. And the guest host this month is Craft Classy. Now, here's the thing about the guest host. What they do is they give us, we have 3 items to craft with, and then Kathy Joe and Brenda watch all the videos and then decide who came up with the best, most original, or whatever it might be, like, you know, just the standout. And then that person gets to co-host next month. I'm hoping some month it'll be me, but who knows. We have some very talented creators in this challenge, so it's gonna be a tough one. All right, but today, do you wanna know what the 3 items were? Number 1, paper clips. Yep, okay. And number 2, scrunchies. I haven't crafted with paper clips or scrunchies before. And number 3 is cardboard. Well, that's right up my alley because of course I'm crafting with trash since I've moved to Mexico. All right, but let's get into it. So the very first one was paper clips. Can you guess what I did? I was like, think outside the box. What would you not see paper clips on? Clothing. So let me just show you. This is a Harley Davidson shirt that I got. And it was, Marcus and I got matching ones, but I changed mine to look a little more feminine or whatever. And so I get a super large, so this is a 2X, so I get a nice big t-shirt so I can have fun with it. So, this is what I did with it. Let me just show you even the bottom of it. Wait, come down, come down, come down. See, I gave it a little loop-de-loo here using paper clips. And on my sleeves, paper clips. And on the collar. But hold on. I'm gonna show you, I gotta come back to where I was. Let me just show you how I did that. This is so easy. Okay, so here's my Harley Davidson t-shirt. It's too big, it's 2X, so we can have some fun with it. What I like about the bigger t-shirts is that they're a little bit longer, so I can wear them with leggings and they're a little bit longer. Okay, so I'm going to cut the collar out of this. Now, what do I always tell you guys is to take your time and go slow. But I want you to notice when I cut the collar out of this one, I follow the front collar line. So I'm cutting out more than the collar in the back, right? So I'm not following the collar in the back. I'm following the front line, which is going to give me a larger opening on the neck. And I always tell you at the shoulders to cut a little bit further in, otherwise you have a big triangle. Okay, so I cut slow with my good scissors, and now I'm going to get ready to add some paper clips. So this graphic on the back is really colorful, and so I did think that I would go with the colors at first, and then I would have like yellow, red, white, and then a silver one. So that's how I do it, but I do take that off and put them in. I think I already told you that. Anyway, I'm folding it over, and I'm just gonna, instead of straight pins, I'm gonna use paper clips right here just to hold it where I want to hold it, so that I make sure that it's an even fold over on the whole collar. And I'm folding to the back because then I can see where I'm cutting on the front, because the front is actually the material that's showing right there, right? All right, so I have to find the center of the collar, so fold it in half and I find my center, and that's where I'm going to begin my cutting, because that's visually the most obvious place. So once I find my center, I'm going to cut a little slit on each side of this paper clip, because that's the length, or the width that I'm going to make my two cuts. So I'm making two cuts, and then I'm putting a paper clip in, starting with the furthest cut, and then measuring and cutting again. Anyway, basically what I'm doing is, for every paper clip there's a longer distance, and then there's a shorter distance between the two cuts where the paper clips come together. So if you wanted to do something like this, I don't imagine anybody's really going to copy this, but if you did, you could just slow this way down and understand how I'm doing just by watching it slowly. So I'm cutting a slit, and I cut the second slit, but the farther away slit is the measurement for the next slit. Okay, anyway, and now I'm going to put these in, and so I would hook the paper clip into the paper clip that's already on there, and then hook it into the larger piece of material that's hanging out, and then just sort of, there you go, just like that. And I went all the way around the neckline, and again, I mean, this looked okay on the back side, but on the front side the colors looked weird because there weren't those colors on the front of the t-shirt, so that's why I ended up taking them out and putting the silver in. But anyway, all right, so we're gonna go all the way. I think I'm just showing you too much of me putting these in. I guess I just wanted to make sure you guys understood how I do it. And then we're gonna go to the sleeves, and of course the sleeves are fine. They're just a little large and a little long. So I did cut one sleeve and try it out, and I like the way it turned out. So now I've already figured out what I'm gonna do. So I'm putting my second sleeve on top of that one, so that I can cut it exactly the same spacing and distance, so that they're gonna get scrunched up exactly the same. And then we're just gonna take a paper clip and weave it through the slits right there. And then it works like, you know, it just scrunches it up. It gives it a cute little, what's the right word? Not scrunch, but gathering, I guess. It gives it a cute little gathering on the sleeve. So easy and so cute. I'm in love with this t-shirt. All right, and then once I get that done, I'm gonna go to the bottom because it's long, but it's also a little too big around. So I need to give it the old 1980s, you know, scrunchy at the waistline look. So I take a rubber band, and I stood in front of the mirror and I rubber banded at the right place. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my safety pins in here. So took off the rubber band, and I'm gathering it so that I'm pleating it, basically, putting pleats in it, so that I can make my cuts in there to weave it with my paper clip. And once I have it like that, I'm gonna stick the rubber band back on it, just because that's gonna help me hold it while I cut it. And then I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna make two slits. So one all the way through them, and two. Good scissors helps you do that, FYI. And then I'm just gonna start with the first, you know, the first slit, and we're gonna go all the way through these. Again, we're just gathering it, and now it's all good. Now the only thing I will say about this is, because they're paper clips, I mean, I guess they're stainless steel, but I would still cold water wash this t-shirt anyway, and I would absolutely put it inside of a laundry bag, because I don't need these getting hooked on anything in the laundry. So anyway, I think this came out super cute. I hope you guys like this as well. That's my imagination and how I will craft with paper clips. Next. do you think? Because I think that was pretty original. And as you saw in the video, at first I used colored paper clips because it matched, can you guys see it? It matched the logo back there. But it didn't look right when I put it on, and so I took all the colored off and I just went for the silver, and now I really like it. It almost looks like a chain. Super cool way to use paper clips, and also a cool way to have fun with the t-shirt and switch it up. Okay, so now the next item that I did was cardboard. And I wanted to do something completely out of the box. Now, I have seen lots of things on, you know, Pinterest and YouTube and all that on things to do with cardboard. And I was like, so I really started thinking, I want to do something different. I'm like, so what's something I want to do I haven't done yet that isn't necessarily with cardboard and I could do with cardboard? So I came up with it. I keep wanting to do a weaving project where they take like a piece of cardboard and then they put the skewers in and then they weave rope through it. So I thought, can I do something like that with just cardboard? Are you guys ready to be shocked? Because this one is kind of amazing, I think. Bum-ba-da-dum. It's a bowl, and it is all woven with cardboard. Yep, whole thing. That is all cardboard. You guys are gonna be so shocked when you see how I made this. And then when I got it done, I was like, I think I need to add some flowers. Also cardboard. Yep, all cardboard. This whole thing is cardboard. And it's super cool. Mind you, this is the first time I've done it, so I feel like there's some imperfections, but for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. Let me just show you the complicated process for this. And by the way, it is all one piece of cardboard, except for the pieces that I wove through the original. So, stop, let me just show you. All right, I started with a really sturdy, heavy cardboard box that had like a vinyl side to it, you know, like the shiny plastic side. Okay, so we took a smaller circle and then put a larger circle on it because the smaller circle is going to be the base of my basket, bowl. I guess basket. I mean, I called it a bowl, but it's like a basket bowl. Anyway, and then I cut off all the excess. I left a little extra around the outside circle because I need to have something to trim up at the end, okay? And then I cut all the excess cardboard off, and now I'm just sort of perforating all of those lines. So these are gonna be my half of my weaving arms, okay? Now, once I have those all cut in, I'm gonna trace that smaller circle on the outside here because I need to remove all of the plastic from these arms, I guess is what I'm gonna call them. So I'm just sort of peeling it off. I go around, peel it off, but then once I get that, because I could spray this with water, but it won't soak up because this is like, it's like vinyl. I mean, it's not, but you know, it's plastic coated. So it took a little bit of time. I just sat down and watched the thing. Now I'm going to spritz them because I need to get the rest of it off. And at first, I thought I was gonna leave the corrugated look to weave with, but then they started coming on off and I was like, you know what, it'd be way easier to weave without them. So then I start just to get them completely separated from the back side of this cardboard, which is gonna end up being my weaving arms. All right, so I get all those done, and then I take another thin piece of cardboard and I'm just measuring out to cut equal strips of this. I didn't need this whole piece. I cut the whole thing up and I didn't need it all. I don't know what I was thinking. And then I just made my straight lines and I cut my strips up. And so once I cut my strips up, I am ready to weave. By the way, I was letting the stuff dry in between here, and this is where I'm like, I'm not going to use these. I cut them all off. I'm just going to use the one part. So now we're just weaving, and I'm picking up every other one because to start it, I'm just trying to get it started, and then I'm going to glue it and start the weaving. But it doesn't really weave until you get your next piece in because then you're pulling all pieces in. All right, but while we're watching me weave, because I think we all know how to weave, I'm gonna tell you something. Okay, so Just My Imagination is a song by, of course we know, The Temptations.
and it was featured on their 1971 album, which is interesting because we really think of the Temptations as the 60s. So it became their third hit to reach the Billboard Hot 100, and it held that position for, I think it was 2 weeks. And then it also hit the Billboard R&B singles for 3 weeks. But what's really interesting is that it became their one of their signature songs. And in 2010, Rolling Stone magazine listed Just My Imagination as number 399 on the list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. It left the list in 2021, but I'm sure that's how it goes. Songs come and go as more songs are recorded. So another interesting tidbit is that the Rolling Stones also covered this song, which now makes me want to go listen to their recording of it. So there you go. That's a little bit about Just My Imagination. Ooh, 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 ooh. Hope you enjoyed that. Back to crafting. All right, so you can see I'm weaving, weaving, weaving. By the way, I didn't do a continuous weave. I wove each row on its own. I think I ended up with 4 rows of weaving. So one of the things is, because these arms are a little bit wider at the top, right? Because I was cutting into a circle, I knew that was going to happen, and it was going to bring my bowl out. I think it's geometry would be why I knew that was going to happen, but I'm not sure. Apparently I learned it in high school and it did something for me. Anyway, all right, so once I get the 4th one on, I'm now gluing that final row to the final weave, right? I want to make sure it all stays together. So I've got my little hot glue mini pot there, and I'm just dabbing glue on. And I'm also evening out sort of the distribution of that last row, because of course, again, it was moving up. Now I'm going to trim it, and this is where I was like, I'm going to give it a little sort of roll in my trim, and to give it almost like that ribbon effect, like the old glass bowls that I talked about in my introduction of this piece. Anyway, so I did that. It's not perfect, but with a piece like this, I'm really not looking for perfection, especially since it's the first time I've even tried a craft like this. If I wanted to perfect it, that would be a different story. But now, once I got it done, I was like, you know what this needs? Like those old ribbon bowls need some roses on it. So I took some of the strips that I cut and I spritzed them and got them wet, because it's going to make them more pliable. And I did the old twist. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a rose made this way. They do it with ribbon all the time, but I was like, surely it will work with a piece of cardboard. And guess what? It did. So I made 3 of those, and then I just put a whole bunch of hot glue basically on the bottom of them to hold them together. And then I glued those onto my basket. 3, because I'm always telling you guys, don't do even numbers. And then I got another piece of pretty thin cardboard out and cut out my leaves. Again, you guys, these aren't perfect, but it certainly is very effective, and it looks exactly like what I envisioned this would look like. So again, 3 leaves, 3 roses, right? I know that gives us 6, but it's the item itself. All right, now I'm gonna paint, and I'm just using white acrylic paint, and we're gonna paint the entire basket. One of the reasons that I did this was so that I could get it to be a lighter color. But here's what happened though. The pen marks that I did for the lines, like they kept bleeding through, could not get them to go away. And so I did a coat of Mod Podge on there and let that dry. While that's drying, I'm like, okay, let's start painting the roses. By the way, I think I put 2 coats of acrylics on this whole thing. So I started painting the roses with this sort of rose color. Now, often when painting, people will tell you to start with your darkest color and then go to your lightest. I did exactly the opposite of this one, and I did it for a reason. Because I wanted to really control how much shading I did on this, because it was so twisted up and there were so many crevices. And I felt like I was going to have more control using the dark. But there are 2 ways when you're painting. You either start with your darkest color and layer on top of that, or you start with your lightest and layer on top. And it really depends on the object that you're painting as to how you do that. For me, because of all the crevices, I went with the lightest first. And you'll see as we go along in the painting here that that really helped. I don't show all of my painting. There's really no need to. But This is, I'm just painting the white back onto the bottom, and I am not seeing those lines, and then bam, they come back up. But I painted the leaves with a green, then I did dark brown accents, and then a darker green. And again, I'm not fully covering with each color. Then I add some white in there for some highlighting. And what I've done on the roses was I did my highlighting with the layers of the colors. Okay, so I think I did one more coat of paint on the bottom of this. Anyway, it just kept bleeding through. Word to the wise, if you do this, use chalk instead of ink. I don't have any chalk, I need to get some. But anyway, okay, so I just continue painting. I get the roses exactly where I want them, and now I've got this stark white basketball thing, and that's not what I want. So I take my coffee stain, this is instant coffee, which works great as a stain, and I just start putting that on and wiping it off. This didn't feel aged, antique-ish enough for me, so I end up pulling out my really dark brown, and I start layering on top of my coffee stain. And I am not being careful, you guys, because aged old things, they don't equally get the wear and tear on them. Like it can change all over. And then I took that paint and I'm really just mixing it into my instant coffee here. And that gave me a stain that I really liked. And I'm letting it pool in the crevices because that's exactly what happens. Now, when you paint a surface like this on the bottom, I've got to get rid of those brush marks. And the way you do that is when you paint and it's really wet, you keep going over it, because as it dries, you'll get rid of more of those paint strokes. And now I'm just gonna let some of this pool on the bottom crease of the bowl, and then I take my paper towel and I'm gonna dab on some of this aged looking stain onto the bottom. And basically this is all preference to how you want it to look. I love how it came out. I hope you guys do as well.
Oh, right. Ferdinand said when he saw me making it, because I do it on the counter here, right where Ferdinand can watch me, and then we talk to each other all day long while I'm crafting. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like, I know. He didn't know where I was going with it. But one of the best parts of this project is Marcus went out on a motorcycle ride and he was gone for a few hours. And when he came home, he saw this. It was when it was just painted white, and he goes, "Yeah, did you weave that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, no, I wasn't being, you did?" And I go, "Yeah, at a cardboard." He was completely shocked. He was just being like, I suppose you made that, because I make all these things all the time. But he didn't really think I had. Okay, anyway. And just a couple of things like that scalloped edge. I don't know, I just tried it and it made me think of, do you remember your grandmother had the old ribbony glass bowl? So that's kind of what it made me think of. Anyway. I love it. I even think my roses came out pretty decent. Yeah. All right. Now the third and final object that we had to craft with, I'm going to tell you how I got here. So initially I wanted to do a vignette. I immediately thought of my t-shirt with I didn't immediately. When the first time I thought of the t-shirt with the paper clips, I was like, wait, I'll just go down this avenue and I'll do myself a little vignette. And I was like, I'll make a t-shirt, because it's like to hang around and drink a beer in. I'll make a bowl for peanuts, but then the bowl went a completely different arena. And I'll make a koozie for my beer. So I did. And at first I thought that the koozies would just go on there. I mean the scrunchies, and then I could use one if I wanted to. That didn't work, it was too tight, but it still is a pretty cool koozie. Come on. That's a pretty cool koozie and I am living in Mexico, gotta have our Coronas. All right, Let me show you how I made this.
This one took a little bit of thinking. Like I was like, okay, so I need to do a template for my koozie. And then I remembered the koozies that you just get as marketing pieces are always that folded over, you know, foam stuff. And so I was like, I'll just copy that design. And so that's what I'm doing here. So this is a foam and I made my template. It works, look at that. And so now that I've got my template, which is just gonna be my base for my koozie, it's just my base shape and what's actually gonna touch the bottle on the inside. And so I'm taking packing tape, because that's what I have, to join these joints right here, right? They're not gonna be seen at all, so it didn't matter to me. So I complete my circle and then I test fit it on my bottle to make sure that that does fit. Yay, it does. Okay, so now I have this foam and I can't just leave it foam, so I get out my koozies, I do a little test, scrunchies, you know, do a little test run. That's gonna work perfect, they're gonna fit on there. So I go get some gray material that I had after I make sure I have enough scrunchies to cover up the foam that I have, because I could cut it down if I didn't have enough scrunchies, but I do. So I'm just testing that the scrunchies are gonna cover that foam all the way up. But now I've gotta put a base on this foam, so I cut a piece of like t-shirt gray material that I had just from an old junky t-shirt, and I'm just covering the entire koozie. Now the way you do this, you glue one point and then you go exactly across and glue, and then at the quarter point and then across, and then you just keep halvesing it and gluing it in, and this gets you some pretty even distribution of the material. Then I take it off and I trim it along the top, obviously the top of the koozie. This is not going to be seen. The only thing that's going to be seen on this gray is the very bottom. So I take my first scrunchie, and I do end up pulling the elastic out of all of these because they were too tight with the elastic on them. And then I glue them all down. So these are all permanently there. So this is my furry koozie at first. Had I known exactly what I was going to do when I bought koozies, I might have bought all furry ones, but I didn't. So I bought, you know, sort of an array of scrunchies. Anyway, so I'm just cutting the elastic out of them, and then I'm taking embroidery thread and I'm going to thread it through, because I'm going to put the scrunchie on our koozie there, and I'm going to tie it on at first so that it's nice and taut and formed to this. Again, the elastic inside was just a little too tight, and I needed the koozie to work, right? I need the bottle to go in and out of the koozie. So I knotted it, and then I would just cut off the excess, turn that to the inside, and then we're gonna hot glue it on, and I'm just sort of scrunching up my scrunchie as I hot glue it on. And then I'm gonna repeat that process with my with all of my scrunchies. So you can see that I'm hot gluing, just sort of scrunching it in. And then I'm going to repeat that process. And I just played with the colors. These wouldn't have been necessarily my color choices, but again, I was just dealing with what I had. I don't have a supply of scrunchies here because they're all back home. So here's the final one, which is the green, and you get a better view here of what I mean by I'm gluing and then sort of pushing it in. So see, like that, because we're trying to sort of scrunch it up, no pun intended. I mean, it is a scrunchie. And so I'm just scrunching it, going all the way around, and then we're gonna put our final scrunchie on. And for this one, because it's that furry material, it perfectly covers the end of our koozie. I love this. I'm gonna use it. Marcus said he won't because it's too girly. Okay, it's mine anyway.
Yeah, so I got a cool koozie to go with my cool t-shirt and my grandmother's bowl to throw my nuts in. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself this time. I think they all three came out really cool. I'm absolutely going to use my koozie. I'm going to wear my t-shirt. I don't know what I'm going to do with the bowl, but it is kind of cool. I should probably sign it and give it to one of my kids, right? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, because of course this one is really more of a piece of art than it is a craft, to be quite honest. And this took a lot. And for my first time, see, I'm really proud of this one. Can you tell? All right, guys, we got to move along. You got to go hit that playlist and watch everybody else. And make sure you go by Brenda's and Kathy Joe's and the co-host. Oh my gosh. So I'm having a brain fog. And the co-host, oh yeah, Craft Classy. So make sure you go check out all three of their channels and the playlist. All right, everybody. So have a great day, great week, and great life. And as always, from your singing crafty crafter, it is just my imagination, when I start to craft. Okay, you have ideas? All right, Ferdinand, I'll start asking you what your ideas are. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time here on Bella's Bargains. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a like, a comment, a share, to subscribe, whatever it is, you know, the usual stuff. And we'll see you next time here on Bella's Bargains. Toodles.